Good Monday evening, Northern Michigan. Thanks for joining us here on Up North Live's Unscripted. We are officially in the holiday season this week as we get closer to Wednesday, of course, Christmas Eve, and people are wondering if we'll have a white or a green Christmas. Checking in with Joe. Joe, I know we've been really going back and forth with the weather. I feel like it's been kind of up and down.
Yeah, it has, and it's going to be more up, I think, temperature-wise this week. But I still think for most of Northern Michigan, we'll get a white Christmas in here just because we've had so much snow on the ground already coming up here. A couple things, Melissa, not a whole lot happening between now and Christmas Day, which I think that's good for travels and things like that. It's just after Christmas, though. Actually, Christmas night into Friday could run into a little bit of messy weather to end the week. So I'll have more on that and a look at the forecast a little later.
Thanks, Joe. After a U.S. Coast Guard member from Air Station Traverse City and his family are without a home tonight, Paradise Emergency Services was called to a fire that happened there Sunday evening at their home on Spring Street in downtown Kingsley. Additional fire departments were requested due to the age and the construction of the home. The freezing temperatures also created obstacles for fire crews. A family of 4 was inside when that fire started and were able to get out of the burning home safely. Up North Live's Tony Lundy has more on how the community is now responding.
You know, it's just tremendously touching knowing that many people from the surrounding area and our local community come together in tough moments like this. You know, we really appreciate that help and are willing to help our neighbors when the need is there as well.
While fire crews were putting out the fire, support agencies were already getting calls to help the young family. The American Red Cross responded to provide immediate assistance.
The first thing we do is we open up a case for the family and we just talk to them and figure out what do they need. Do they need, you know, if their house is a total loss, do they need financial assistance? Do they need help with prescriptions or major medical devices? Did they run out without shoes on their feet? You know, what kind of stuff are they going to need?
There are also steps in place when a military family needs help.
We also brought in our Service to Armed Forces Division, who has they have a whole network of partners as well that they can reach out to that may be able to provide, you know, ongoing assistance that the family might need.
That was Tony Lundy reporting. The Kingsley Library did take some donations to help the family with immediate needs, and those have been met. But the cause of that fire remains under investigation. Now, when a life-altering event happens that would make you turn your life upside down, something like a house fire or your home is destroyed, the Red Cross is the agency that's prepared to step in and help. Tonight, we're joined by Michelle Gallagher. She's the executive director of the Northern Michigan Red Cross chapter to talk about ways that the organization steps in to help. Michelle, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I want to start, obviously, we have been covering a couple of house fires in Northern Michigan over the last few days. Walk me through the process with the Red Cross when something like this happens and your agency is brought in to help.
Sure. So whenever there's a home fire, either the fire chief or emergency services will reach out to the Red Cross, and we will dispatch volunteers to the location. And once the volunteers get there, it's really just working with the family or the individuals, you know, how many ever were affected, and finding out what it is that they actually need. You know, do they need a place to stay? Do they need medical equipment or prescription help? You know, what is the most important thing that they need right now? And then we just do what we can to help them. So we can provide financial assistance for, you know, hotel rooms for the night or temporary places to stay. We can help them get prescriptions refilled, replacing medical equipment. And then we also have mental health volunteers that are available in spiritual care if they're interested in that as well.
So you're coming in at a time, obviously, when their life has been turned upside down, and you're making sure those priorities, those initial needs and their everyday life needs are met.
Absolutely. So, you know, the fire chief and his crew, they're there to, you know, do their thing and put the fire out. And a lot of times, sometimes the family's just kind of hanging around, not really knowing what to do. And so with the Red Cross volunteers being there, you know, we can kind of coordinate that for the family. This is what's happening, and this is where we can do to help you, and just sort of ease their mind a little bit in what's probably one of the worst days of their life. So,
how many fires does the Northern Michigan Red Chapter respond to a year?
About 150.
Okay. And so obviously, being prepared is key so that when this does happen, that your team can go in. What other types of fire prevention efforts is the Red Cross involved in?
So we have several. We have our sound the alarm, our home fire safety, where smoke alarms are so important that everyone has working smoke alarms in their homes. So we can come into your house and check your smoke alarms, make sure that they're working, make sure that they're not, out of date. And if they are, we'll replace them. And that's all, no cost to the homeowner at all. We do all of that for free. They just have to call us. And we also have some programs. We have one called Be Red Cross Ready, where we can speak to any group, any size, age doesn't matter, just about the importance of what does it mean to be ready for a house fire. Mm-hmm. One of the things that people forget is where are you going to meet when everybody runs out of the house? Where do you go? You have to have a meeting spot, because the last thing you want is for family members to be going in different places, and then you don't know where everybody is, and then someone tries to run back in the house. So just things like that you think of.
And Michelle, too, going beyond house fires, looking at last year's ice storm that impacted parts of northern Michigan, in a situation like that, how does the Red Cross help?
So the ice storm, the Northern Michigan chapter covers 28 counties in northern Michigan, and 14 of those counties were affected by the ice storm. Mm-hmm. The first thing that we got calls for was shelters. They needed shelters open. So we had, I believe, 57 shelters open, and a lot of those were overnight, so people could come and stay. Basically, in that situation, it's a lot of the same things. We're providing shelter, food, water, electricity. All the shelters that we have to have, some sort of backup generator or electricity. And we also have volunteers available, like I said, for mental health or spiritual care, for short-term recovery. If they can't get back in their home, where are they going to go? We're not going to close a shelter until everybody has a place to go. And some people need help finding a place. So we're there to help with that as well.
And speaking of helping, if people would like to help and donate to the Red Cross, is it best to go through their local chapter? Do you go through the national offices, or even volunteer? How would someone go about doing that?
Either way, yes to all of the above. Redcross.org is a wealth of information as far as, how to volunteer, the kind of volunteers that we need. They also have, a direct link that you can donate. And it tracks your zip code so that the money you donate does go to the community where you live. But, they can call us as well here at the office, and I'd be happy to talk to anybody about the kind of volunteers that we're looking for. And there's a whole slew of things that people can do, from disaster response to working, at blood drives, service to armed forces. There's all kinds of stuff. We can find a place for everybody.
There's always a need, that's for sure.
There's always a need, yes.
Michelle, thank you. We appreciate you making the time and for all that you do. Again, that was Michelle Gallagher with the Northern Michigan Red Cross. We will have a link on our website to get more information about the Northern Michigan Red Cross chapter on UpNorthLive.com. Keeping kids safe. Over the past several years, thanks to new legislation in Lansing, schools right here in Michigan have become more secure, but some so-called non-clarity in our state laws have made it a little bit harder for child care centers to do the same. As our Mark Gillette reports, that could soon change.
I think we all sadly know about the epidemic of gun violence and mass shootings around our state and around our country.
And according to the Rockefeller Institute of Government, American workplaces are the only location that has more mass shootings than American schools.
The reality is that parents still face anxiety and anguish as they drop off their kids to school and to daycare.
Over the past several years, Michigan lawmakers have addressed the need to make our schools harder targets to gain access to.
It was Senator Weber who led a package to allow for the licensing through the fire code and through the building code of automatic door locks in schools in case of an emergency like a school shooting.
And they have, but there was an issue.
There was a little bit of non-clarity in the language in that act of 2020, and there were some childcare facilities that assumed they were covered under the act and wanted to proceed forward with installing these automatic door locks. But we have to clarify that these are specifically allowed in childcare facilities.
Non-clarity because while child care centers inside of school buildings were allowed to install automatic emergency door locks, standalone child care centers ran into questions and hurdles when it came to fire and building codes.
There was a gray area that existed. Some of them installed them and faced some difficulties when trying to expand, and then others looked to install them after, the interpretation was clarified or changed, and are now barred without the passage of these bills.
These bills refers to Senate Bills 96, 97, and 98, introduced in part by Senator Roger Houck. In a statement provided, he described the drive behind them, saying, quote, "This is about protecting our children in a world that is increasingly dangerous," end quote. And supporters believe making sure child care centers have the option of installing automatic door locks removes some of that danger.
This is not a mandate. It's not a requirement. It is just an option for these standalone child care centers to have in their toolbox.
The bills are intended to clean up and clarify what was intended when schools were granted the automatic doors option. Nothing more, nothing less. Senator Houck explaining, quote, "Once signed into law, these bipartisan measures will enable Michigan child care centers to employ the same door locking systems our schools can use to keep out people intent on doing harm."
That was our Mark Shillette reporting. The bills have passed the Senate and just last week passed the House. They're headed to the governor's desk for her consideration, and she is expected to sign them into law. All right, stay right here. Joe Charlevoix takes a look at that weather as we head into the holiday week coming up in just a couple minutes.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back to Unscripted. Joe and I were talking earlier about weather and, of course, Christmas Thursday of this week, and it looks like we might have a white Christmas, Joe.
Yeah, I think because we've had a lot of snow up to this point, we should get, I think for most spots, snow on the ground coming up here, although it is going to be a little milder coming up here, Melissa. In fact, even tonight, we're talking maybe a little drizzle.
Okay.
Mixing in on the road. So we have a little bit of a light wintry mix possible into early tomorrow. Overnight, a few flurries or drizzle, a couple showers tonight. But then, quiet weather Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So if you do have travels, heading out to grandma's maybe, we're looking at pretty good weather, maybe a snow shower north on Wednesday. And then the one day this week of the Monday through Friday, potentially a messy end to the week, some snow or maybe a little freezing rain or sleet Thursday night into Friday. Here's a look across North America at temperatures. And I show this because the lower 48 actually fairly mild. It's 45 at Billings, Montana, Seattle near 50, Traverse City is at 40. You can see the really cold stuff up around Fairbanks and the Yukon, around Whitehorse, where it's 42 below zero. This pattern will kind of stay this way until next weekend when we'll see a little bit of that colder air working in. And even tonight, look at Bel Air. It's 41 right now, Traverse City 40. Here as we inch closer to 7 o'clock this evening, Grayling, Cadillac at 36. We do have a little bit of rain, and you can kind of see snow showers trying to reach the ground here. It's pretty cloudy. We have a front north of us and also to our south. And then you can see the area of low pressure out in the Dakotas. All this will pass through late tonight through tomorrow. And once that does, then the rain and drizzle and things like that we have tonight will go along with it. What does fall tonight will be on the light side. You can see that through tomorrow morning. Patches of drizzle, maybe a snowflake, maybe a flurry. And then tomorrow, mid-morning, that all ends. And then dry weather tomorrow afternoon. If you get some sunshine tomorrow, and I think somebody might, it'll be a little bonus. I think most areas cloudy, but perhaps a little sunshine tomorrow. It may be fleeting. And then on Wednesday, there's Christmas Eve. Just a chance for a snow shower north. Nothing that will really impact travel. And then we head into Christmas Day right there. And maybe a little sun in the morning, but overall kind of a cloudy day for Christmas, but quiet. So temperatures 22 to 37 from north to south on Christmas Day. Again, that's Thursday, a quiet day, a cloudy sky. And then here we are at the end of the week. So there's Christmas afternoon. Not much happening around the Midwest or here in the Great Lakes. But watch how quickly that changes Thursday night. Snow arrives, maybe a little bit of a wintry mix into Friday. And then later Sunday, a little bit of rain early Saturday night into Sunday will give way to some colder weather. And there's some lake effect snow, which may kick in kind of full throttle next Monday, which is a week from today. It'll probably be a lot colder. Tonight, though, a few light rain or snow showers. Again, drizzle may mix in, 20s and 30s. Tomorrow, a little bit of an early light mix possible in the UP. Drummond Island, Cedarville, 36. Forecast high. Just about everybody will be above freezing tomorrow. A little bit of early drizzle or some light rain showers. Mid to upper 30s tomorrow, our warmest spots right here, reaching 40s. By the way, Claremont, Pleasant, mid 40s tomorrow, cloudy skies. All right, the extended forecast. Pretty quiet on Christmas Day. There's that wintry mix or snow on Friday, Saturday quiet, and then we're looking at some lake effect snow as we head toward next Monday, Melissa.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Joe. It is time for our question of the day, and it has to do with temperature, not outside, but instead inside your home. We do have a poll going on right now with the question, how often does your household agree on the thermostat temperature? Check out our Facebook page, Up North Live, and our website, UpNorthLive.com. Let us know how the thermostat debate works in your home. We'll check those responses coming up a little bit later in the show. Coming up in sports tonight, we are taking a look back at some of the best moments in high school boys seasons from this year. Sports director Harrison Beebe has the breakdown coming up. Welcome back to Unscripted. Sports director Harrison Beebe helps us take a look back at the year when it comes to sports this week. We start today with the best moments from the high school boys season. Harrison is joined by James Cook of the Traverse City Record Eagle and True Kahani of the Petoskey News Review for this roundtable discussion.
Memories to last a lifetime, and that's what we're going to hone in on, the best moments of 2025 from the high school boys seasons. James, why don't you go first?
I know Drew's got a really good one, but I'm gonna talk about Traverse City St. Francis winning the baseball state title, their first state title since 1990 under Craig Bauer. They did it in pretty impressive fashion, beating the team that beat them in the finals in 2021. They've been to the finals 3 times here, and since 2017 or 18, they got shut out the other 2 times they were in the state championship game, and they came through and won this one in the championship. Just a pretty good, a really good run with them, and they have a big chunk of this team coming back next year, so it could be something that they could also do in the future here.
James, you hit it on the head. Drew's got basically the best answers, so we'll go ahead and save him for. I usually go last in these segments, but Drew, I want to save yours for last, and I'll share mine. Another state championship for a high school boys team, the Leland Comets. Speaking of teams that get to the finals, they won it all in 2018, but it's been a 7-year drought, and that's not a bad thing, but they've had a lot of brick walls in their way in the state semifinals, finally getting through to the championship round again this year, and what do you know? Drama in the highest sense, going to a shootout, and the game winner on the shootout made by a guy who hadn't had a goal all year. Howie Kropp delivering the clutch goal, and then Leland celebrated like it was 2018 all over again. Another title to add to that great fall lineage of championships for Leland between volleyball and soccer over all these years. And Leland soccer back on top in Division 4 in the state. All right, Drew, take it away. Your number one choice for boys moment of the year.
Yeah, I'm going to take, just Charlevoix as a whole. They went from, one of the worst moments in, I think all of our careers here with the crash in April for the Charlevoix boys golf team, turning that around into a cross-country state championship with Doug Drenth leading them in the fall was just amazing to follow. Hunter Eaton winning the championship, his son just coming through with some big points. Maxwell had one of his best races of his life. And then obviously a moment all 3 of us were part of and at just recently when Joe Gaffney, who was in that crash, fractured his pelvis, basically had to be put back together. And, 70 screws later, he's back on the basketball court in December. And I think it's a moment that none of us saw coming, and what a moment it was to just be there and take it in and see the emotion and just a big night in Charlevoix. To have them go from just tragedy in the spring to triumph in the winter, all in the same year. So it's pretty special for them.
All right, thanks, Harrison. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the live results for our question of the day, coming up right after this.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Welcome back. We are taking a look at the question of the day. We want to know, how often do you adjust your thermostat in your home? What is the household agree on, I should say, for that thermostat? We have several responses. Valerie's saying, never. I like to keep the temperature low to save on my bill. Dan says the one that pays the bill gets to discuss the temperature and what it gets set at. And since I pay the bill, it's an easy conversation. Andrea says, we agree 68 degrees for the most part. Scott says, I like this one. The beauty of living alone. My dog never argues about it. I have cats, Scott, so I totally get that. Thank you for commenting. If you have not done so, please check out our Facebook page, Up North Live. Let us know if you agree on that thermostat temperature for your home. We hope to see you back here at 11. Until then, have a great night.